What's up, guys? We're gonna bro beats. I'm gonna be showing you guys how to make an old school style sample. If you guys want to sub that radio turn plus on, just do so because it does up a lot. Let's hop right into it. So real quick, the BPM, just usually for me, I like to go around like 50 to 60. So 62 doesn't really matter. You could do 61, whatever. Now the swing should be around 20%. You can kind of pick and choose which one you want, but I'm using 20%. This is just to humanize it. And then I have a free one-shot kit for you, and it's pretty much just a copy of every sound that I have here. And then I have these hi-hat midis for you, which I'll probably just drag them in, but I'll redo it just so people know how to do them manually. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Make sure you grab that kit. The link will be in the description or in the comment section down below. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we're gonna get started with our bass, and this is the most important part of this whole thing. All right, if you don't do this right, everything else will sound terrible unless you just really know what you're doing. So for our scale, I'm gonna just default to our F sharp minor, just because it's easier for me to just make stuff in this. It's my favorite scale. So with our bass, the reason why you want to get this right is because with like old school stuff, usually the bass is kind of like the dominant. And I mean, I guess nowadays it's still the dominant, but like the bass has like a melody to it or like a groove to it. So you want to kind of do that and make sure you solidify that first. So we can start on our root. Actually, this is perfect. Turn this up, and you just want to think of a nice groove right in your head. If you got to tap on something or even sing it, you can, but you just want a nice groove. So I'm gonna make sure I zoom in so you can really see the notes, and then probably should go a little smaller on this. Right, and we get in the groove that we need. And it's pretty much how you would do it. Now, what notes to use? Now you could bring a chord down, like if you're really struggling with like exact notes to use, you could bring a chord. I'll just throw this here. You could transpose one of these notes or leave it as is and just use these notes as like your bass line and just play around with a groove. But I'm just kind of going up the scale, right? So and I like that, so I'm gonna copy that over, and then we can copy this one more time and just do like some extra stuff. Add some right here. Throw that up an octave. Just throwing that up one. Right, just kind of mess around with the octaves just to kind of make it sound more like an actual bass, like how somebody would play the bass, right? They just won't play it just one single note, right? Unless it's like a rock song or something, right? But with like stuff like this with more soul, usually you hear those like bounces. So we could just do something simple over here. So I'll play it. Okay, and that is pretty much the hardest part. Everything else is fun. You just kind of add notes that you like and that you think sound good. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so now we're gonna start our guitar, and here's the VST for the bass if you wanted to know, and then here's the guitar VST. So with this, I think it's important from this point forward to just keep everything like less is more and very simple, just because if you start to do too much, it'll start to sound really cheesy and you don't want it to sound that way, right? So we could just use our first little chord, the F sharp, zoom in, right? We could just use that. And you could just use this first chord and kind of play around. Now, since we have a guitar, to make this a little bit more realistic, I would delete, well, to get it to sound that way, you just delete the top note and then you take that second dyad, copy it and pull it up an octave. Let me shrink this down so you can see everything. And it just has a little bit more range, and there's other things you could do, but that's just the way that I do it. And then from here, we just kind of play around with some of the notes. You know, we could do something like this. All right, I think that sounds pretty fine. And this B works because I believe this is the last note over here. So that works. Okay, so you can always reference your other sounds and stuff if you're struggling to find what notes to use, or you can use the trick I showed you in the last videos, kind of stemming the chords and other notes so you can get like different melodies and stuff. So pull this over. All right, so now let's do something different. I'm gonna take this and we can just make a chord out of this. Let's do something like that, and then well, let's see if it sounds. Then let's make a chord this way. Okay, let's try that, and then we could kind of strum this. Okay, I like that. So I'm gonna copy these just to be lazy, and then we can just add in these little notes. Actually, let's add this over here. Okay, and these just cheap tricks you can use to kind of get the sound you want. I'm gonna just copy this over. All right, let's play it. Zoom out. I kind of want to switch these. I think it might sound better this way. Yeah, I like that order better. So that is the guitar, and let's move on to the next sound. All right, so now we have our strings, and these are usually in the background, and this is the VST I'm using. So basically what you want to do here is you could just use the fifth. Honestly, that's probably the easiest way to go about it. So you can just drag this in, right? And if you want to do it manually, you can place your note, and then you just go 6 notes up and then play. So from this note, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then place your note, and that's how you can get a fifth manually. I'm just copy this over twice. Okay, and then the last thing that I like to do with the strings is automate it. So you will go to control and go to channel volume, if you can see that. And then you can right click your mouse to kind of keep it straight. And then from the middle here, I would just kind of slide it in like that. Just kind of let it dip out. Then same thing over here, just try to copy. Well, you actually could copy this if you want. Right, simple as that. So let's go ahead and move on to our next sound. So now we have our Rhodes, and this is the VST I'm using. So for this, I just like to keep it simple and just use like a very large chord. So we just use that F sharp. You can just keep going up. Okay, so we can stop here because this is the one I like. You just kind of place it where you want it to be. So we can use that as the second chord. Okay, and I kind of wanted to use this and then kind of make it go down like that, but I think that's too generic. So I'm gonna try to do like a little roll, like how those organ rolls are a little bit. So I'm gonna hold shift and drag my mouse just to move these across. And I'm gonna take the middle part and just kind of mess with the velocity. And then down here, I just want to do like a little roll into this. So I'm just hold Alt so I can place it where I want. And then let's see what that will sound like. Okay, I kind of like that. All right, so let's take this one and let's use that chord that we clicked on earlier. And how you know what chord to go to next, this doesn't always work, but basically you can take the lead note. So it's pretty much the note that you hear the most out of the chord. So this is like the lead note because it's like you can hear it the most. Right, and then so I'm just choosing a note in here that sounds good after this. So that just the G sharp, simple. You take that lead note and put it here, and then pretty much you can just delete the notes that don't work, and then we can copy this down an octave and you can fill in the blanks. So that will be there. So it's just creating a chord. You can pull that over. You can have this to be the start. Let's see. Okay, I think that's pretty smooth. So that's a lot of work. So those are the Rhodes, and it's just something you can do. And let's move on to our bells, I think. Yeah. All right, so next up we have our Celeste or our bell. Now I recommend having reverb and delay on this because it just sounds a little bit better. So I'm not gonna break rules. I'm just starting the F. That's probably too low. Matter of fact, I'm gonna just keep it very generic. And you could just kind of use these areas for bounce. Probably spread it out. And then let's do something cool here. Let's not keep the whole thing generic. Let's do like a little roll. So we can shrink this down. And then let's just to keep it steady, so because this is hard to look at all these little squares, so I'm gonna just do this. Okay, I like that. So I'm gonna copy this over, and then over here I'm gonna shrink this down just so it's different. It's faster and it'll be a little bit different. And then over here we can just add like some little groove here, probably like right there. Copy that over, and let's keep this going. Like, let me see. Let's see how this sounds. Cause I want to keep this groove, but I also want this to be a little different. Well, actually, let's see. I don't know. I'll make the decision later, but I'm just keeping how it is now. So now we have our wind. All right, now lastly we have our flute. So this is the sound I'm using, and I just turned up the attack because I just thought it sounded cool, like a reverse effect. So let's go ahead and go in here. I'm just trying to throw some down. Let's see. Go out of this, make sure we're in here. Let's get like some bounce going, and then we could just kind of use these intervals to kind of just mess around. So and this is like where it gets fun. You can kind of mess with the chord. Okay, that'll do for now. Again, if I wasn't like making a video, I would probably spend like 10 minutes figuring out my favorite notes here. So keep that in mind. So let's move on to the last part, which is the rolls. All right, so for the live hats, I provided a MIDI for you because I do not want to keep having to do this over and over again in each video because it's the same exact pattern. It's nothing different. So this first one you want to put here, and then the second one you want to put on the live hat, not the roll one. And then how you can actually make these manually is basically, you know, you want to kind of just put it in this little same pattern, and then on these rolls, because that's the most important part, you want to use the 1/3 step grid, and then pretty much just fill it all the way out. And then the pattern for the velocity is you want to have it like this, except you just want to shrink it down. So you want to like do something like that, and then you'll kind of get that effect. Now I'm not sure what the grid is like in other DAWs. I'm not sure if it's like, I don't know, other DAWs, they have like weird systems and stuff, or maybe FL is the weird one, but I just wish everything was universal, but it's not. So you just want to use a super small one. So you kind of get that realistic like hi-hat little effect, right? So what I'm gonna do now is just kind of show you like some effects and how I have this set up, because this is a template for like these type of samples. So I already have like the mixing done, so I'm gonna just show you that real quick. All right, so this is like the setup for the mixing that I have. Like I said, this is like a template for sound selection and the mixing of this type of sound or style. So usually this will be the same. Now, if I change any sounds, I will switch this up, but the guitar, I always put it to the right, pan it to the right, and then the strings, I pan it to the left. And pretty much my process on panning is just spreading things out. And usually when real instruments are being played, they're not played in the exact same spot. Some are more to the left, to the right, etc. So I'm just trying to emulate that, right? And same thing with the hats. And of course you got EQs and stuff going on. Now I have this new one, which is like a vinyl, and it's just being routed into the, I guess the bus, right? And this is giving that like vinyl effect. And this is so I have more control. And then if you want to, you can use these like VSTs and stuff to kind of further the effect. Okay, just custom presets here. You can tweak it how you want, but I like clarity and bass, so I'm gonna turn this off. But that's gonna be it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed. Make sure you like and subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.